Hi everyone, I'll be doing a presentation on T.S. Eliot, our author for the week. So, he was born on September 26, 1888 in St. Louis, Missouri, and while he still lived in America, he attended Harvard in 1906, earning a degree in philosophy, a doctorate degree in fact. However, once World War I began, he left London in 1915, just 1 year after the start of the war, and in that first year in London he got quite busy. He became a teacher as well as continued his education by attending Oxford, pursuing more information on philosophy, specifically Greek philosophy this time. Also, this first year in London, he meets his wife, Vivian Highwood. However, they have a strained marriage with a lot of trouble in it due to the fact that she has some emotional issues as well as she is sickly physically, so she has trouble. So they have trouble getting along because of this. And despite all this, he does publish his first collection of writings in 1917 and continues to do so, publishing many works throughout this early period of his arrival in London. However, things kind of come to a halt for a second, as in 1922, all the strain that he's been suffering from trying to go to school and work and publish his writing, and also his marriage kind of being unstable, leads to him going to Switzerland to a sanitarium so he can kind of relax there and, you know, handle his own emotional issues. So after 2 months in Switzerland, he comes back home and continues writing, and overall things are okay. Around this time, too, in 1927, he becomes a British citizen and a member of the Church of England. Later on, as things continue, however, he can't stay with his wife despite the mental support he got from going abroad. In 1933, they do get divorced, and he stays single for about more than 20 years afterwards. Also, in this later period of his life, his works tend to focus more and more on religion. Pretty much in 1927, when he joins the Church of England and onwards, things only get more and more religious and spiritual from then on out. And the last notable event in his life before he does pass away is in 1957. He remarries Valerie Fletcher, who was his secretary for quite some time before he married her. Though their marriage is short-lived, it only lasts 8 years because he does die on January 4th, 1965 in London. So now moving on to some of his notable works, we have the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which is a kind of strange love letter where the man writing the love letter to some woman is not necessarily sappy and romantic, but it's more self-deprecating and hard on himself and talking about how he doesn't fit into society. But by the end of the letter, he comes to the conclusion that he can still change and society can still change, perhaps. Next up is The Wasteland and the Four Quartets, which I'll cover later on as I go over our readings for this week, as both of those were assigned to us. And finally, we have Murder in the Cathedral, which takes on a strong religious tone as it was published later on in his life. And it is about a bishop who was murdered in a cathedral. And again, it has some commentary on how society is functioning and what things have come to, essentially. Moving on to the summary of our readings for the week, I'll start off with The Wasteland, which is an episodic collection of different perspectives. The first perspective we get is a German woman attending a funeral and contemplating her role in society and how she doesn't really have one. She doesn't fit in anywhere. Later on, we move to different perspectives of speaking to the dead and having visions of the future, and even a tarot card reading. All have rather apocalyptic, dark visions of the future, of what lies ahead. Perhaps Eliot meant this as a kind of warning, though it remains unclear. It might have just been his own thoughts of what society was becoming. Next, we have the Hollow Men, who are a group of men between heaven and hell. They don't have anything to stand for, they don't have any convictions or any really like self-worth. So they stand there on the river Styx, refusing to cross, not choosing to go to heaven or to hell. And the people on the other side kind of judge them and ridicule them, saying like, oh, they stood for nothing, this is what happened. And the men are kind of sad and they kind of reflect back on their lives and they realize the people on the other side criticizing them are right. They didn't choose anything in life, which is why now they're kind of in this middle ground area. Next up is the journey of the Magi. And of course, the Magi is one of the three wise kings who goes to see Jesus Christ when he is born. However, this focuses on his travel there, not so much the actual birth itself. And his travel there, the Magi is pretty critical of the society around him, saying that he hates the journey and it sucks, and society sucks, and all these villages he visits, they suck, they're greedy, and they're cruel, and overall he's just very unhappy with how things are turning out. And then eventually, once he goes and sees the birth of Jesus, he also starts contemplating whether or not it was a good thing or a bad thing, not really coming to a clear conclusion. However, in the end, he does say that to some degree, he thinks that perhaps he should die as well as his religion and his beliefs to make room for new things. Again, we have some commentary on society's changing and what direction things are leaning in. Finally, we have the four quartets, the last one, Little Gidding, which is the name of the monastery in the short story, where people come to seek redemption, essentially. Society has gone downhill, and if you come to Little Gidding Monastery, you can have salvation or enlightenment by speaking to the dead, and they'll tell you what to do. And in the end, this kind of becomes like a very clear religious symbolism as he kind of speaks about how there's like a redeeming fire that if you, give yourself up to the fire, you can be redeemed. So to me, it sounds a lot like he's saying redemption through God or through religion or through spirituality, that kind of thing. However, it's also a bit unsettling because, while it does speak about redemption, which is generally positive, it does say that only some people will seek this out. Only the people that are in these few select places, like Little Gidding, will be saved, and everything else is going to be hellfire and horrible apocalyptic events are going to take place as society topples over. So yeah, Eliot tended to get pretty prophetic with his visions of apocalypse as time went on as well. And then finally, I'm going to go over just a quick overview of some of the major themes in play here, which is, of course, Eliot was considered a modernist, first and foremost, and I think that's pretty accurate. He was really focused on society as a whole and not on the self, so a lot of his poetries are giving commentary on society and not really just on his own view of it or on himself. Not like the Transcendentalists or the Romanticists that focused on the self and the idea of the individual, but he's focused on the broader society as a whole. So his experiences don't matter, just the poetry for what it is, for the message that it represents. The next big thing is questioning the importance of symbols, which he does frequently, especially like in Hollow Men and in the quartet. He questions the importance of symbols. In the quartet, he would say, for example, the the dead are just symbols, and they don't really have anything for us. They're not alive anymore. Even if they are perfect symbols, they are still just symbols. So he kind of demeans them and kind of says that they're not that important, and that's why he kind of argues for the importance of like God/religion, I think. And that brings us to the religious and spiritual views that were a big part of Eliot's writings, especially as he got older, and especially, of course, once he joined the Church of England and thereon afterwards. That became a major theme. And finally, I think the single most important theme in all of his readings that I can see is the major question of, is society changing, or is it just decaying? In almost all of the readings we've done this week, there's a kind of a hint of that theme mixed in there somewhere, one way or another. Society is changing, and it's kind of a bad thing, but hey, maybe it's not. For example, you have the Magi, who is saying that he wants to die and kind of just get his old ideas out of the way and make way for the new ones. He doesn't want to be the old man shaking his cane at the young kids. But then also, in some of his other poems, he's talking about the end of the world happening and kind of blaming society for it, saying this is what's happening because of society. Anyways, those are my thoughts on